welcome to the third how-to guide from Checkmate Tutors relating to how to write effective essays in your GCSE, iGCSE language and literature exams. This is part 3 of 4 and it's very important you watch the first video in the series, the Burger Framework for Essay Writing, otherwise what is going to be discussed in this and the previous video in this how-to series will not make sense. So if you haven't done so already, please watch this video now, which should be appearing on your screens and also listed in the description of this video below. This video provides you with a basic guide on how to score good marks on this question. A further lesson will be made available in which the double zoom technique will be examined, and this will hopefully enable you to access the higher grade boundaries. As a quick recap, in the first lesson, the Burger Framework was introduced and it was discussed how each essay you write needs to include several main components that differ depending on which question in which exam paper you are responding to. However, we know that no matter what essay you write, your essay must include a title, introduction and a conclusion, and the style and function of these paragraphs don't really change across the essay types. PLEA is an acronym which stands for 4 particular components of a paragraph that you would use to answer questions 2, 3 and 4, both paper 1 and paper 2 of AQA GCSE English Language Specification. You may have been taught at school that each paragraph you write in any subject needs to include a topic sentence, supporting sentences and a concluding or linking sentence that joins the ideas in one paragraph with the next. The same is true here, but what you write is focused more closely on hitting the assessment objectives linked to the specification question you are answering. So PLEA stands for point. What is the particular point that you are making in this particular paragraph? Language. What language feature is the writer using that supports the point you are making? Evidence. What evidence do you have to support the claim you are making? This could be in the form of quotation from the text. Analysis. What close analysis of this information can you make and how did this analysis help you to come to the conclusions that you have? I understand this might be a bit difficult to understand without having an example. So if we look back at our Burger Framework again, you remember that not including our introduction and conclusion paragraphs, you should have 4 PLEA paragraphs. So the example answer I'm going to show you here using the PLEA format is a response to question 2, paper 1 of the Specimen English Language paper from AQA. The text that this question wants you to respond to is as follows. How does the writer use language here to describe the effects of the weather? You could include the writer's choice of words and phrases, language features and techniques, sentence forms. The wind came in gusts, at times shaking the coach as it travelled round the bend of the road, and in the exposed places on the high ground it blew with such force that the whole body of the coach trembled and swayed, rocking between the high wheels like a drunken man. The driver, muffled in a great coat to his ears, bent almost double in his seat in a faint attempt to gain shelter from his own shoulders, while the dispirited horses plodded sullenly to his command, too broken by the wind and the rain to feel the whip that now and again cracked above their heads, while it swung between the numb fingers of the driver. The wheels of the coach creaked and groaned as they sank into the ruts on the road, and sometimes they flung up the soft splattered mud against the windows, where it mingled with the constant driving rain. Whatever view there might have been of the countryside was hopelessly obscured. As this is only an 8-mark question, you don't have the time to dedicate to writing an introduction and conclusion. Instead, you should make 3 clear and developed points in 3 main paragraphs. As such, you should move on to your first point straight away. Moving on to our first PLEA paragraph then, I've written, the writer uses language in several ways to describe the effects of the weather in this passage. In the first paragraph, she uses a particularly effective simile to show the potential danger that the passengers of the coach are facing as they travel on this journey. The wind blew with such force that the whole body of the coach trembled and swayed, rocking between the high wheels like a drunken man. The use of this simile is particularly effective as it emphasises the unpredictability of the weather and the damage it could cause and the danger it poses to the coach, its occupants and the driver. Drunken people often sway and rock as they walk. The alcohol affects their balance and coordination. This means that they would often veer into the path of or bump into other people and surrounding objects. In this case, the situation is far worse because a stagecoach or horse and carriage is heavy and large. If it veers off the road, it could crash or overturn. If a drunk person falls over, they can dust themselves off and get up. The occupants of a carriage are not likely to be so lucky. This section relates to my point. This is the language feature. This is the evidence. And this section is the analysis. In the second paragraph, the writer describes how the weather affects the driver of the coach and the horses in different but equally negative ways. Firstly, hyperbolic language is used to describe how the driver tries to avoid the gusts of wind and rain, and as such, it is said that he is bent almost double in his seat. Saying someone is bent double is an often used phrase that suggests that they have bent over in pain, or in this case, to try and protect themselves from something. Of course, it is impossible for someone to bend themselves over double when driving a stagecoach, because that would mean that they would be touching their toes and not facing the road. However, it provides an effective image in the reader's mind to suggest how much the weather is affecting the driver and that he is trying to shelter from it. This section relates to my point. This is the language feature. This is the evidence. And this section is the analysis. In the third and final PLEA paragraph, I have written, in the final paragraph, the writer arguably reuses the technique of almost personifying the coach. The use of onomatopoeic adjectives, creaked and groaned, suggests that much like the horses and the driver discussed in the paragraph before, are feeling the impact of the weather. Usually when someone groans, they are enduring severe pain or pressure and have perhaps reached physical or mental breaking point. As such, this paragraph arguably helps to build this part of the story to a climax, as the reader is led to believe that something catastrophic is going to happen to the coach. Although the situation doesn't improve, the writer seems to reduce the intensity when she switches focus to discussing the view out of the coach windows and states whatever view there might have been of the countryside was hopelessly obscured. Although the adverbial phrase hopelessly obscured is still negative, it doesn't have the same disastrous connotations as the things that were happening to the coach earlier in the paragraph and in the paragraphs above, and by comparison this seems more like a minor inconvenience or annoyance. This section relates to my point. This is the language feature. This is the evidence. And this section is the analysis. Please note that this is only an example response which demonstrates the key elements required in your paragraphs if using the PLEA framework. There will be more focused analysis in future lessons on the various aspects of the GCSE English Literature curriculum. However, this should provide you with a good guide to the basic expectations when writing English language responses, which don't need you to use the essay components of an introduction and conclusion. Thank you for watching. Please do like and subscribe to the channel for future lessons.